Hello everyone, welcome to Vert Mode. I'm excited to give you a sneak peek at our new course, Mastering Human Anatomy for 3D Artists. In this course, we dive deep into the captivating world of human anatomy, exploring techniques used by master artists throughout history to create anatomically accurate models. If you want to follow along with this demonstration, sign up for our emailing list to receive access to the image planes I'm using right now. And if you're ready to take your skills to the next level, enroll in the full course on Udemy. Links to our emailing list and Udemy page can be found in the video description. Let's get started.
So we're on our final stretch here for the base mesh, which is going to be the head. This is one of the more complex areas, so buckle up. It is a challenge. We're going to be moving a lot of vertices, but we've made it through this much so far, so I think we should be able to tackle the head no problem. Now, we're going to make a couple changes right off the bat. This middle line here, I want to bring this to be about the midsection of the eye if it is not already, and you'll see mine's a little bit too tall. So I'm just going to move this down, and I am going to flatten it to be as flat as possible. And just adjust the surrounding vertices to match up with the head as closely as you can. Also turn back on your world symmetry if you have not done so. World X is what we want to be in. And we'll just take a moment here to get these set. Now, in terms of this, I believe this one here can come forward. If I'm not mistaken, I think we're going to add a jawline in. Let me check. Actually, no, this one is about the right place. I think we want this to be mid-head, if I'm not mistaken. And we'll just bring this one back a little bit here to straighten that. And then as far as the front of the head goes, this will be okay. I think this will give us a good start point. So something like that. But make sure that this line is running down the center of the eye, and this line is jawline, kind of mid-ear area. And I think that is what we need to get started. I may step that one back. I don't remember if it's this line or a different one we have running down the ear, but as we start to add in our detail, I will remember. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add 2 edge loops to the head, one horizontally across the head aligned with the base of the nose and roughly the bottom of the ear, and the other one is going to go vertically through the head in front of the neck. So let's start with the nose line. I'm just going to get it under the nose here, and that's going to go across here under the base of the ear. I'm going to flatten this, like so, and move it into place to just kind of force it to be where it needs to be. And you'll notice it actually gives us this back little head bulk, which is kind of interesting. So may seem weird to straighten it, but there you go. And then the next one is going to go right in front of this area here, in front of the neck. So something like that. And that's going to help us define this bottom part a little bit better. And I'm actually just going to grab both of these and pull them up. And the jaw is actually pretty square on this guy, so we can leave that be. But that does give us some more definition there. So now we need to take some time defining the planes of the face. The planes of the face are the various angles of the face. I think we might be able to find a reference image here under the Anatomy for Sculptor page. All right, so this one here, the male 3D head blockout, is going to be a good example of the breakdown of the planes of the face. So if we get down into here, you can see the various head forms, and this is sort of the planes of the face we're talking about. A plane refers to a flat surface, so kind of across the brow here is one of those planes. This line here is one of those. This line here coming into the eyes. This line here coming into the frontal face. And then jaw, side of the head, top of the head. You can see those various planes. So those are going to be things that we're going to be looking for. Now, in particular in the face, what we are going to try and shape to begin with is sort of this area here along our eye area. That's going to be what we're looking for in this section. So we're going to try and get those to be in place a little bit better. Coming to the front here, we can move some of these around. One of the big ones is going to be this top one here. We're going to move this to be our brow ridge. So I'm going to bring this down here, and we might need to make some adjustments as we go. For example, this edge we just added, we can bring that forward to round this shape a bit better. So one of the nice things about having that edge that we just dropped through the jaw, I'll just pull this forward slightly. so we get a better roundness to it. But this front area here, we can start to shape to that front of the face. And you'll see I still have my little side hand image plane here. I can actually delete that now. And we just take these vertices here and start pulling them up to represent the brow as closely as possible. And we can pull this back a bit to mirror the shape. And we'll do the same with the edges along here. We can start to pull these back to reveal the face. And you'll see that the face is actually quite a bit rounder than you might think. We also need to start adjusting the widths of these. So if I come to this one, for example, we can get a better read on the width there going down. And this is going to kind of have a cascading effect down the back side of the head here, where we're going to get wider as we recede towards the back. So that's something I feel like we don't really have going well here. But that's going to be one of those key areas that we're going to want to get in. And then right here behind the ear, this is kind of the widest point of the head. So we just want to make sure that's the furthest out. I see there's one vertex kind of beating it here. So we'll just get that in place. And then whatever this is probably needs to come out. That's the back of the head. It doesn't really need to come out, but I think it looks better. Okay. So that will start to get our brow ridge more defined here. And just look at that from all angles. Then for this area here, for the eyes, we're going to want to pull this back to get that brow ridge to be more expressed. And I'm noticing this is a little bit high for the brow ridge. But you'll see how that starts to create sort of a plane of the face there, kind of digs in a little bit. And we can pull the eyes back just a little bit more. This is the one we want to shrink in to match the nasal ridge. Okay, so we're going to pull that forward slightly to kind of match the nasal ridge there a bit better. But we're going to get something a bit like that. And then this one here, we're going to move to match the base of the nose, so the two sides of the nose. Remember, that's the line we put underneath the nose, so that's going to be where that goes. And we can pull this forward to match the nose ridge, and then that's going to go down there to the chin. All right, so something like that's going to give us our start point. You might want to look at it in 3 dimensions and just think of what a head looks like to get that going a little bit better. Here, we're going to use this one to flare out to the jaw width. So you can see the jaw out there. We're just going to pull that out and up to match that better. And then we can go to the vertice above it and pull that out. And now we should start to get something resembling a face a little bit more accurately. We can adjust these surrounding vertices now to add the necessary volume to match the jaw. Maybe make some adjustments here on some of these so they're not so tight looking. And just spend some time shaping it in 3 dimensions. So that is going to get us our base structure for the head set up. You want to take some time getting to this point, defining the face planes, and setting it up for where the features are going to go. So make sure you narrow the bridge of the nose like we did here in the front of the head. This is going to prepare the nose shape and set up where the eyes will go. Use the new added vertical lines to define the jaw like we just did here a little bit better so it stands out. We may even want to tuck it a little bit more back here just to kind of really get a good read on that. And narrow the front of the face and bring down the forehead line to define the brow ridge, which is what we did here. And just adjust that in 3 dimensions. All right, so go ahead and get to this stage, since this is quite a few stages. Try and get it to match as closely as possible to where I am at. And then we're going to start adding in some of the other details of the head and defining our brow ridge. Make sure you save, though, if you have not done so yet. Make sure it's another iteration, and go ahead and get to this point, and then we'll resume. All right, so let's go ahead and start defining the facial structure in terms of the brow ridge and the nose a little bit more. So this looks less like a strange masked ninja character and starts to look more like a human. What we're going to do is we're going to come to face mode here. We're going to select the nose planes, and we're also going to select the brow planes up into this line running across the eye, and we're going to perform an extrude on them. So I'm going to use the extrude tool, and I'm just going to pull this forward till we get a little bit of volume. Now, I don't want to go crazy here because a lot of these edges are just going to kind of be slid and placed in a new spot, but you want to pull this forward enough to where you can see what you're doing and you have a bit of a ledge there. Now, with shaping these, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and shape the nose so it goes to the tip. This is going to be kind of our nose tip here. We can pull this forward here, and we can move this to be where we want it to be. So right around here, that's going to give us that nose shape. And you might notice it's a bit wide. We're going to come in with these vertices and narrow them. We can do the same with this brow ridge, nasal ridge here. I actually think the nasal ridge was already set, so we actually need to push these back, which is kind of funny. That's one of those things where I mentioned, as we move forward, we may also have to move backwards, but we're going to pull that down. And once again, we can pull these in and kind of narrow them. You can see the shape that's giving us. Coming to the brow, we can pull these up and out a bit to create a ledge here that is going to more properly align with the brow ridge. And we can pull these edges up a little bit because we are actually going to run them down into the head. So pull those up and scale them in. And then coming into this top edge here, we can just shift double click to access this. There's a couple options we have. You could just do a mesh tool slide edge here and you could slide this down. I might do the same here with the brow ridge a little bit, just kind of a bit of a slide. Actually, we'll leave that be. But we're going to get something like that. Now, you're probably thinking, what is the point of that? Well, what we did here is we set up some additional shaping lines. They just aren't lines yet. So what we need to do is we basically need to run a line up into these to add some additional topology to the face. And then we need to delete out these existing lines here. Now, we know we can add in an edge loop here using the multi-cut tool, but you notice we run into this interesting issue where it goes all the way around, and that's not exactly what we want. So a neat trick we can do is we can turn one of these into an n-gon where we don't want this to go, and just add another deletion step. So, for example, we can run a line from here to here, and this will actually create a triangle, which is even better. We can just hit enter. And the thing about edge loops is they only travel across quad surfaces. So you'll see as this runs up into here, it's going to terminate now. And that's perfect because we need to connect into there anyway. So I can just add in this edge loop here, and we can connect it across to this edge. And what that will do now is it'll create another triangle. So if I run this edge into here, you'll see that it does not go up. So that just terminates those nicely. And from here, we can just clean up this section. So I can go into my edge mode. I can select this edge, shift select this edge to get rid of the two triangles I don't want, do an edit mesh, delete edge and vertex to clear their data, and then use the multi-cut tool here to come up into this edge to connect that into there. The last step is to just delete those final edges we don't need. So I'll go into edge mode, select this edge, shift select this edge, and do an edit mesh, delete edge and vertex. And now what we have is two edges that run up and around here and connect into this area and don't add any extra geometry that we don't want. So using these now, we can continue to shape the head a bit more and add some more volume to the brow and make things look a little bit nicer. So this top edge here, we can use this to kind of fill in the space a bit better. Like I mentioned, the mesh tool slide edge might be one of your better options for this, just to kind of slide this down. And then we can play around with some of these other edges, but I don't think we have the room for that quite yet because these are setting up sort of a scaffolding for our eye, but we can take a moment to relax some of these to make them a little bit less aggressive than what they currently are. This brow here, I can also bring in. This is going to kind of be the top portion of the eye socket. And you can actually see it starting to look a bit like a skull in that regard. And these are going to be the corners of the eyes, so I can start to bring in some of these because they are pretty far out there now, I would say. And we'll adjust these more as we get to the eyes, but whenever you add those new edges in, remember you just want to shape these, get them to look a little bit better. I'm going to bring this one forward here to create that plane. So remember the planes of the face we talked about, that angle there, you can see we're now getting coming down into there. So that's why this is coming forward a little bit. And then we can move this forward and over a bit to trace the jaw better. So that way we start to get these shapes clearer. And it's a bit messy when you get to the head. There's so much topology in here, it's hard to kind of tell what's going on in the concept view, the reference, so just do your best with it. Like I mentioned, having a reference like the planes of the face up, that can be helpful, can help us see some of these things as we go, but at the same time, we can only do so much in Maya, so just be aware of that. I am going to space these out a little bit more evenly, pushing this back to be more where the jaw is. And then, of course, the midline will kind of follow suit, where we adjust it as well to just have more even spacing. Now remember, we want that even spacing to keep the quads even, because at the end of the day, this is not a detail mesh, this is a sculpt mesh. So we're not too worried about the forms, we're more worried about how the forms react to smoothing. All right, so that should get us the basic planes of the face going there. I am going to push this back a little bit here to be the top part of the eye socket and just play around with some of these areas here to get them to be a little bit better suited for what we're going for. Maybe bring the nose up and in a bit more. All right, so that is going to give us a nice setup there. Now we're going to add in a couple more planes for detail. We're going to add in another line running across here, the midsection of the nose and down the side of the ear. We're going to add another one here that we're going to run basically through the lips and backwards. So we're just going to place that there. Now with those in place, let's go ahead and take some time to tweak these to match the image as closely as possible to the image plane. Define the brow ridge clearly and inset the eye area and angle back the face and round it out a bit before we start adding in some of the features. All right. So let's grab here. I'll start by just pulling this out to help round the head a little bit. And when you round one area, you tend to have to round others. This is kind of the exception. This area is okay. I will, however, pull this up to be more mid-lip. And this is one of those ones where we're going to want to look at this from the front view. Just make sure it's kind of running along there. And let me turn off X-ray and just highlight these to see. And then turn X-ray back on. And it does look like that's doing pretty good. I think that's most of the shaping we have to do orthographically. We can ease this into the backside here a bit more. And then, of course, anytime you do things orthographically, when you get to this stage, it's good to step back and just look at this three-dimensionally and ask yourself, is there any areas here that need your attention? And I think that will be okay moving forward. Might want to look at these corners a little bit in relationship to here. These are eventually going to become sort of the eye socket area insets. I think we extrude them once before though, so I'm going to leave them a little bit broader. I might bring in the nasal ridge just a bit more here and tighten up the nasal area here in the front now that we have another edge going there. But I think that'll be fine. And maybe tuck this back a little bit more because I feel like it's coming forward too much. And maybe bring this one forward more so we get more of that ridge. And then we can adjust some of the planes of the face down here to be more parallel with the mouth. Okay, so I think something like that is going to get us set up for this brow ridge here. And we can tweak these as we go nonstop. But I think that's going to be where we're going to pause here for the moment. So a lot of small little details in there, getting that brow ridge extruded, getting it set up, getting those edge loops looped in under the jaw. I'm going to let you get that in place before we start adding in the features of the face. So as a challenge, what I want you to do is get to this stage where we have that brow ridge in there and we have those additional support lines set up across the nose and the mouth. All right, so go ahead and get that done. Make sure you save out a new iteration moving forward, just in case you miss something. And then we will go ahead and start getting some of the features of the head into here.
For the next part of this lecture series, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you can catch it when it goes live. We're going to give you guys the full modeling section out of the course as a preview. And just as a reminder, if you would like to follow along, sign up for our emailing list below to get the image planes I'm using in this demo. And if you want to take the full course, check us out on Udemy. I'll see you in the next video.